Lesson 2. Preparing outlines. N. Bibliographies. At the end of the lesson, learners shall be able to outline reading texts in a given discipline, prepare a traditional and annotated bibliography of references, used in an academic or professional text according to prescribed guidelines, and determine the organization of ideas in a given passage. Outlining, laying the foundations. An outline is crucial in essay writing because it will establish the shape that an essay will take. The outline should be a reflection of an essay's thesis statement, and in turn, will guide the writer as to what details are supposed to be included in an essay. It may also help a writer establish unity and coherence in his or her presentation of ideas. By unity, we mean that the ideas in an essay speak of the thesis statement, and by coherence, we mean that the ideas in an essay are logically arranged. Usually, outlines are used in determining the structure of an academic paper. This means that the main headings for each of the sections are encoded using Roman numerals, I, II, III, etc., while the supporting arguments or details are marked by capital letters, A, B, C, etc. When outlining, make sure that the main headings and subheadings should at least come in pairs. If 2 is absent, there should not be a I in the first place. Likewise, if there is no B, then the previous idea should be included in the main heading and should not be encoded as A. There are 2 types of outlines, topic outline and sentence outline. Topic outline only makes use of keywords and phrases, while sentence outline makes use of complete sentences. See this sample outline. You can see the outline title, main heading, and the contents of the exposition. Following is a short video that will give you some tips on how to make an outline. Let us proceed to the next slide.
Today we're going to show you how to use Aristotle's canon of arrangement to write the perfect outline. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ancient Tools of Writing series, where today we are talking about the second toolbox of writing. Arrangement is where you're writing an outline. Now I'm assuming you already know the standard outline form, so today I'm going to be giving you some additional outline styles to fit whatever you're writing. Because as we've been saying in this series, the more writing tools you have, the more flexible you can be as a writer, and the less likely you are to run into those places of, I don't know what to do next. But first, why is arrangement important? I mean, outlining seems pretty basic, right? Why have a whole toolbox about it? Why not just write your outline now in the same order your notes are in? Well, think about the movies. Have you ever seen a movie where it's 20 minutes in and it feels like something cool or funny should be happening by now, but it's still just people talking? Or the reverse of that, where things are starting to pick up, but then some character just starts explaining some long, boring story? Or where they show the monster too early and now it's not scary anymore? Or maybe there's a scene that just doesn't make sense with what happened before and you're like, well, what are they still here for? Didn't the guy just tell them where they need to go? Or, well, if he already knows about the thing, why would he do that? Or, well, how will you know idea if I'm not going to get the plan yet? And obviously I'm a lot of fun to watch movies with. Well, problems like that happen when filmmakers don't use good arrangement. And an essay is like a movie. Tools of arrangement, like the ones I'm going to give you in this video, will make sure your essay isn't a bad movie. Make sure you don't use a word without defining it first. Put the boring part at the beginning of the essay because you already understand why it's important. You have to guide your reader through the ideas you're presenting. And that means figuring out which parts belong in the beginning, the middle, and the end. And now, some outline shapes. Take whatever notes or papers you've got gathered for your essay, what we're calling inventory, and cut it up. Don't get stuck with this. Rearrange it, spread it out on the floor, tape pieces together until you find a shape that makes sense to you. And that might be a standard outline where each big idea is a header and each small idea is a bullet point. And when your ideas are all cut up like this, it's easy to switch those around or combine 2 headers into one or whatever else you realize you need to do. But I'm going to give you some less conventional shapes you could use. Maybe one of them will help you hit that sweet spot where your whole essay becomes clear in your mind and you say, I know exactly which words I want to use to express this in the final draft. That is the secondary goal of arrangement. Here we go. Put your essay into columns, with your definitions and your new ideas and beginning-ish material in one column, the implications of those ideas in the middle column, and your conclusions in the ending column. This lets you simplify your task by just focusing on what parts go in the beginning, the middle, and the end. Because next you can go back and put each column in order, only having to think about one column's worth of material at a time. Or use as many columns as you need. Or you can shape your essay like a circle. Start with what's familiar, take your reader to what's unfamiliar, then give them the reasons that lead up to your big point. Then talk about its ramifications, and finally relate it back to how that impacts the familiar stuff from the beginning. And then there's the wave, where you sort of graph the order of your ideas horizontally, and how unexpected or exciting they are vertically. And this lets you make sure you're starting off slow and familiar before announcing what your big point is, and then building up your arguments before convincing the reader of your main point. And then your reader is sort of sliding down this side with you until you show them, surprise, how it changes their understanding of the familiar part from the beginning. And all these shapes essentially do the same thing. They let you move your ideas around to make sure your essay has a good rhythm. They're just different tools to have in your arrangement toolbox, and the right one is the one that gives you the clearest picture of what this essay is going to be. And here's a side note. Sometimes your ideas basically are already in order, especially when you're writing a shorter essay. Let's say you brainstormed them onto a sheet of paper like this. That's the solar system layout we talked about in the last video. You may not need to cut this up. Instead, snake a line through it to find the final order. What order do you talk about the big ideas in? And inside of those, what order do you talk about the little ideas in? Which little idea is the segue to the next big idea? And don't be afraid to bounce back and forth between big ideas. And this might sound a little nitpicky now, but the difference between this and this could mean the difference between an A and your reader losing interest completely. Just make sure you're reading through your ideas as if you're hearing them for the first time, and ask yourself, which part would you need to hear next? If you realize there's an idea that would make a really good transition between two other ideas, go ahead and write it down, add it to the mix. If you think of specific wording you want to use, go ahead and write that down. That just becomes another point in whatever kind of outline you have. So don't be afraid to invent the previous toolbox or elocute the next toolbox. Along the same lines, don't be afraid to combine two categories or split one category into two. I told you in the last video you were only organizing the building materials. Well, now you're at the building site, putting up the framework of the house. You may realize that this pile of boards needs to be split into two piles because you need those boards for two different things. Or vice versa. And finally, don't get discouraged how long all of this is taking. One of the reasons you're doing this is so that when you sit down to write the essay, that's called elocution, and it's the next toolbox in the series, you can concentrate on how to say it instead of wondering what to say next, because you will have done all of that work at this stage. So that's our 5 shapes of outlines. I hope one of them gives you the tool you need to move forward on your writing project. Be sure to subscribe, don't miss our next video about elocution, actually putting words on page to write the essay. Leave us a comment with your favorite outlining tool, and I'll see you next time.
Now, as you can see, the quantum match to the times of the acceleration of the metaphysics will indeed enable time travel. Now, all you have to do is watch out for the exploding kittens. They're really dangerous. They get in black holes. They'll eat a hole in your ship. It's horrible. Just avoid them at all costs.
Okay, good.
Reading tip. Before reading a long text, try to figure out how the ideas in it are organized. That way, it would be much easier for you to follow the author's train of thought. You would also be able to classify the information you will glean accordingly, because you would be aware of the part of the text where it appears, and the context why it is said. Clear organization of ideas can greatly aid in helping you learn more meaningfully. Bibliography list, traditional annotated. A bibliography is a list of materials that were used, or will be used in the composition of an academic or professional piece. It is normally found at the end of the text and is arranged alphabetically. The entries are encoded using the prescribed format in a particular discipline. For instance, in the natural and social sciences, the American Psychological Association, APA, is commonly used. In humanities, the prescribed format of the Modern Language Association, MLA, is followed. Other formats are also used at times depending on the requirement prescribed by the instructor of a subject or an editor. Watch the following videos that will give you a more comprehensive discussion on how to make the proper citations.
This is Humber Libraries APA in minutes. This video will show you the basics on how to cite books in APA format. To cite a book, you'll need the author's name, the year that the book was published, the title, the publishing location, and the name of the publisher. Begin with the author's last name, comma, and initials, followed by a period. The year of publication is added next in parentheses and followed by a period. The title is in italics. In APA, capitalize the first letter of the title and subtitle and capitalize any proper nouns. Follow with the period. Include the city of publication, comma, abbreviated state or province, followed by a colon. Add the name of the publisher and end with a period. This is your APA book citation. For multiple authors, put a comma after each author's name and type an ampersand before the last author is listed. If a book has an editor or editors but no authors, list the editors' names followed by ed or eds in parentheses, followed by a period. Your reference list is at the end of your paper. Make sure to put your citations in alphabetical order. Don't forget to double space and indent after the first line. For more information and support, book an appointment at the Writing Center, consult the OWL at Purdue, or refer to the APA manual available at Humber Libraries. This is Humber Libraries APA in minutes. This video will show you the basics on how to cite a scholarly journal article in APA format. To cite a scholarly journal article, you will need the author's name, the year that the article was published, the title of the article, the title of the journal, the volume and issue number, page range of the article, and DOI if given. Begin with the author's last name, comma, and initials, followed by a period. The year of publication is added next in parentheses and followed by a period. Now comes the title of the article. In APA, capitalize the first letter of the title and subtitle. Capitalize any proper nouns. End with a period. Include the name of the journal in italics, comma, the volume number in italics, and include the issue number in brackets if present. Follow by a comma, add the page range, and finish with a period. The DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. Include it at the end of your citation if given. This is your APA Scholarly Journal citation. For an article that lists between 2 to 7 authors, put a comma after each author's name and type an ampersand before the last author is listed. For more than 7 authors, enter the first 6 authors, comma, and ellipses, and then include the final author. Your reference list is at the end of your paper. Make sure to put your citations in alphabetical order. Don't forget to double space and indent after the first line. For more information and support with APA, book an appointment with the Writing Center, consult the OWL at Purdue, or refer to the APA manual available at Humber Libraries. This is Humber Libraries APA in minutes. This video will show you the basics on how to create an in-text citation in APA format. An in-text citation is a short citation that refers a reader to the full reference at the end of your paper. Anytime you paraphrase or quote someone else's words or ideas within the body of your paper, you must give credit to the original author. A basic in-text citation will commonly include the author's last name, year of publication, and the page number. When quoting an author's exact words, place quotation marks around the text, then include your in-text citation. Begin with the author's last name, comma, the year of publication, comma, and the page number preceded by the letter P. Surround in parentheses and follow by a period. If you summarize an author's idea using your own words, this is a paraphrase. A paraphrase still requires an in-text citation. When paraphrasing, you do not include quotation marks. Begin your in-text citation with the author's last name, comma, the year of publication, comma, and page number, surround in parentheses, and complete with a period. There are many ways to introduce a quotation or paraphrase when writing a paper. If you refer to the author in a sentence, as this example shows, always include the date of publication next to the author's name. Place the page number at the end of your sentence to complete your in-text citation. You do not need to repeat the author's name or date. For 2 authors, use an ampersand after the first author's name. For 3 to 5 authors, place a comma after each author and include an ampersand before the last author is listed. For 6 or more authors, follow the first author's name with et al, meaning and others. If there is no known author, include a shortened title in place of the author's name. If your source does not include page numbers, indicate the paragraph where you found the information by using the abbreviation para followed by a period. Your reference list is at the end of your paper and will contain the full citation information. Make sure to put citations in alphabetical order. Don't forget to double space and indent after the first line. For more information and support with APA, book an appointment with the Writing Center, consult the OWL at Purdue, or refer to the APA manual available at Humber Libraries. This is Humber Libraries APA in Minutes. This video will show you the basics on how to cite a website in APA format. To cite a website, you will need the author's name, the year and date of publication or update if available, the title of the website or page, and the URL. Sometimes you may find it difficult to find all of this information. Be sure to look carefully throughout the website. Begin with the author's last name, comma, and initial. If the author is an organization or company, use the full name. In this case, the author is Health Canada. After the name, add a period. The year, comma, month, and day are added next, in parentheses, and followed by a period. If the date is not given, place N period D period in parentheses to signify that there is no date found on the web page. Follow with the period. Now comes the title in italics. In APA, capitalize the first letter of the title and subtitle. Capitalize any proper nouns. End with the period. Add the words retrieved from, and follow with the web page URL. This is your APA website citation. Your reference list is at the end of your paper. Make sure to put your citations in alphabetical order, don't forget to double space, and indent after the first line. For more information and support with APA, book an appointment with the Writing Center, consult the OWL at Purdue, or refer to the APA manual available at Humber Libraries.
A style guide is a set of rules that outline how your writing should be formatted. It tells you how to format the list of resources you used in your paper and how to cite those sources in your writing. The style guide you're probably most familiar with is MLA, which is created by a group called the Modern Language Association. When I asked several students why we cite sources in research writing, most told me so teachers could check up on their research. Well, I suppose that is something a teacher could do with your citations. I don't know too many who do that unless there is an obvious issue with something that a student has written. There are 3 primary reasons the experts who govern the citation formats made up those rules you know as MLA or APA. The first is, of course, to give credit where credit is due. Plagiarism is passing other people's ideas off as your own, and citations make it really obvious where you are getting your information from. The second reason for citations is for your benefit. Using citations supports what you are saying in your paper, and when you use experts to back up your thoughts and ideas, your credibility is enhanced. When others scan your works cited page, they should get a quick glimpse into the quality of your research efforts. A nice list of research quality academic sources makes you look like you searched for the best quality information. This makes you look informed and knowledgeable about the topic. A work cited with sources like these makes the writer look lazy and uninformed. The final reason for citations is often the most overlooked. Citations help others who are researching similar topics. Citations are essentially breadcrumbs that others can follow if they are on a similar research quest. For example, if you were researching online social relationships, you might run across this article in the database. In this article, there is a reference to a report by Kraut and some other researchers. ETAL is Latin for "and others." In this sentence, I learned that Kraut specifically looked at introverts versus extroverts in his study, and that's what I would like some more information about. But the author of this particular article doesn't go into the kind of detail I was hoping for. But using this citation, I can zip to the references page and find everything I need to locate the actual report. That's a primary reason why all those academic experts continue to use citations long after they have established themselves as bigwigs in their fields of study. Sharing their research certainly enhances their argument, but it also helps others who are doing similar research track down some other great sources. Just about everyone in academia can agree that citations are important. But what they can't agree on is how they should be formatted and what they should include, which is why there are different citation styles. The two main citation formats you'll use in college are MLA and APA. When it comes to bibliographic information, both styles require the same basic information, just in a different order. MLA format is used most often in English courses. Truthfully, I did not even know that APA was a style until I went to college. And all of my professors outside my English classes required that citation format, so I ended up using it a great deal. Internal citations are a more obvious area of difference. Remember, your internal citation is essentially like a tag that you insert in the writing of the paper, so it's easy for your reader to see which source your information came from. This fact about oncoproteins being a target for a cancer-fighting virus came from a source written by the author Weinberg. Without that internal citation, I would have no idea which of the works in the Works Cited page actually included that piece of information. Similarly, this definition of an oncogene came from this website. This student is using internal citations really well to give credit to the sources she used to find the information, which also makes it easy for me, the reader, to know which source to reference if I want to use it in my own research. You need to always use internal citations. An MLA internal citation includes the author's last name and the page number where that information came from. In contrast, an APA citation includes the author's last name and the date. Why the difference? Well, in English classes, knowing where something is located in a cited work is much more important than when that work was written. Seeing that the event this person is writing about happened on page 314 is a lot more useful to me if I want to track down that scene or that quote, as compared to just having the date the novel was published. In contrast, APA style is used in social, medical, and physical sciences where shorter articles are usually referred to as opposed to long novels. For these fields, the date of research is more important, so I can see how current the information is that is being referred to. Your different teachers and professors are not just trying to torture you by requiring different styles. They simply choose the style that makes the most sense and is the most useful for their subject. Each professor or teacher will tell you which style they want, and from there it's just a matter of following it. I don't know if they had to take a sacred vow to uphold citation formats or not, but my college professors were super serious and super strict when it came to citations and the required style guide. You are fortunate to have access to a lot of online tools that you can reference that will handle the punctuation of these formats for you, but don't put too much confidence in tools like EasyBib or NightCite. These citation generators are crowdsourced, so each citation is only as good as the person who first created it. EasyBib does not have a team of citation makers who sit around all day and create works cited entries for you. They have a team of programmers and website developers that created a tool that properly punctuates the information that is plugged into its data fields. But unfortunately, a lot of what is currently in there is just plain wrong. Look at this citation that I found on EasyBib for The Great Gatsby. The person who created it seemed to think that Allen County Public Library is a publisher. Libraries are where you can go to check out books. There's not an actual printing press in the back that whips them up on the spot. And you would look pretty foolish if you didn't bother to fix that before you had EasyBib create the citation for you. EasyBib will do a good job for you if you double check that all of these fields have the correct information in them before you click create. EasyBib's specialty is putting punctuation in the right spot. It's not great at pulling information into those fields correctly. You'll want to be especially careful with this for websites, since the way the webmaster coded the website affects whether or not EasyBib can pull the information that goes in the right spot. I'll use this website as an example. I'll copy the URL and plug it into EasyBib. Here's what EasyBib was able to pull from the website, but I see a couple of errors right off the bat. I'm going to continue to the next step so that I can fix those. I will put my windows side by side so this process is easier. The title came in correctly but isn't capitalized, which is common for MLA 8, so I'll fix that. Next is the author field, which is missing, so we'll look at the actual web page again to see if I can find one. When I scroll to the top and the bottom of the article, I don't see anything, so I'll leave it blank. And just so you know, the only things that are okay to leave blank with websites are the author field and the date of publication field. When I move on to the website title, it's mostly correct, but there are some extra words here at the end that are not reflected on the actual website, so I need to delete those. The publisher is often the same as the website title, and the best place to find it is in the footer of the web page. Here it is right next to the copyright symbol. Now this copyright date is for the entire web page. It's not the same as the date this particular article was posted on the website. So next I need to check for a date. I can see that EasyBib grabbed this date. I don't know why. I know it's not correct. When I look at the article, the actual publication date is right here. So there's another thing I will need to fix. Once I've checked and corrected the EasyBib fields, I can click Create Citation, and EasyBib will correctly format the information for me, which is nice. If you decide to use EasyBib for your citations, make sure to carefully check all information. Consider EasyBib as partially helpful. If you don't want to use EasyBib, you can just use an online style reference like these. Just carefully follow the examples provided and plug in your own information. Citations are simply a matter of attention to detail. You should get them perfect every time, but you won't unless you double check them for accurate information and accurate punctuation. And if you have trouble with finding the right information to even plug into your citations, consult some online resources, which are filled with lots of examples, or ask a librarian until you become confident in your ability to include the right information with the correct formatting in your citations.
Bibliography list, traditional annotated. An annotated bibliography, on the other hand, may be written either on set of cards, a table, or simply typed out in a word processor. Below each entry in an annotated bibliography are the summary and other pertinent details about a topic being studied. Preparing this will greatly help in organizing the ideas found in your readings.
You've probably heard the term bibliography before. As a matter of fact, you've probably had to complete a bibliography at some point in your academic career. So you probably already know that a bibliography is a list of the sources you've used in a research paper, project, or presentation. This list may also be called a works cited list. A bibliography follows a particular format called a style. There are different style manuals out there, but the one we use in this class is MLA. Bibliographies are very important because using information from outside sources without citing them is called plagiarism, dear children, and is in fact frowned upon in most societies. Okay, so you get it. A bibliography is important for research. But what makes an annotated bibliography different? Well, it includes the bibliography part, of course, but it also includes an annotation for each source. The purpose of the annotation is to give a brief summary of the source and some commentary about the source. Each annotation has three key elements. Number 1, a summary of the information presented by the source. Number 2, an evaluation of the source's usefulness in answering your research question or questions. And number 3, an explanation of the type of source, including its relevance and authority. Now that you know what an annotated bibliography is, let's talk about how to complete one. It starts with recording citation information from your sources while you are actually doing the research. This includes things like author name, article title, book title, website title, publisher, URL, date and city of publication, volume or issue numbers, and the date you accessed the source. It's also a good idea to record annotation information as well. Recording these things while you do the research will save you a lot of work later on. The next step is to organize your source's information into an MLA formatted citation. The good news is, you don't have to memorize the MLA style manual in order to do this. There are tons of resources on the internet that can help you correctly format your citations, including the Purdue OWL website, EasyBib, and Citation Machine. On top of that, many online databases have a citation function that will spit out a correctly formatted citation in any style you choose. Okay, your citation is looking good. Now for the annotation. Directly beneath the citation, type out a paragraph including the 3 components mentioned earlier: a source summary, an evaluation of the source's usefulness, and the type of source. Now you have a complete annotated bibliography entry, but don't celebrate just yet. First, you need to repeat the process for any remaining sources. Then, give your annotated bibliography a good proofread to ensure you have followed MLA style exactly and there are no spelling or punctuation errors. And voila! Just like that, you've completed your annotated bibliography. Pat yourself on the back, shout it from the rooftops, and throw yourself a party. You did it!
Reading tip. For you to effectively craft the summary of the text, and glean pertinent information from it, first skim through it for you to gain a bird's eye view of what is talking about. After which, scan the text for specific information you need to construct your annotated bibliography. These may include the context of the article, research gap being addressed, main headings, research questions, recommendations, etc. Lastly, do not forget to compare your entry with the original passage to ascertain the accuracy of your annotation.
When you do research for your papers and projects, you always need to cite your sources. To cite means to document and identify the sources you used in your work. You need to show where you found the information you used in your research. It does not matter what type of source it is. It can be in print or online. It can be an image or a conversation. It can be copyrighted or not. Some examples include data, journal article, chart or graph, newspaper article, books, ideas, theories and concepts, emails and phone conversations, blogs and wikis, websites. Well, we could go on, but you get the idea. Quoting and paraphrasing are 2 important concepts when you're writing a research paper. You need to cite when you quote a source and when you paraphrase a source. To quote means to use an author's exact words in your paper. Quotes must be in quotation marks. To paraphrase means to restate the words of an author in your own words. In your paper, your paraphrase is not in quotation marks. You may be thinking, I found this stuff on the internet. It's all free, so why do I need to cite it? Remember, it does not matter where you got the information. It does not matter if you paid for it or not. You always have to document where you got it. If someone used your work, you'd want to get credit for it too. There are many reasons why you need to cite your sources. One is to give credit to the person whose ideas you quoted, summarized, or paraphrased. Not doing so makes it seem that those ideas are your own. Using information from others without crediting them is called plagiarism. Give credit to the person you quoted, summarized, or paraphrased. Another reason to cite is to allow your reader to identify and retrieve the sources for their own use. Finally, citing sources lends authority to your work and lets your teacher know that you did your research. There are 2 places where you need to cite your sources. As you know, you end your research paper with a list of all of the sources you used. However, You must also give credit for specific ideas and quotations within your paper. This is called in-text or parenthetical citation. So, you need to cite in your references or bibliography and in the body of your paper. The list of sources at the end of your paper can be called a bibliography, works cited list, or reference list, depending on which style manual you use. Style manuals are guides that tell you how to format your entire paper, including where and how to properly cite your sources. There are several different style manuals, so you should ask your teacher which one to use. Go to OSLIS Learn to Research to learn how to format your in-text citations. Also on OSLIS, use Citation Maker to format an MLA Works cited page or APA reference list. For specific examples and for more information about this topic and the entire research process, explore OSLIS. Thank you to the Oregon Clip Project for allowing the OSLIS committee to adapt their tutorials. OSLIS. Learn to research, research to learn.